Hello and welcome to the Football News Zone, the show we round up all the biggest stories in the beautiful game right now. There has been both European and domestic cup competitions in this week, so let's have a look at the stories that have caught our attention the most. This week we bring you all the fallout from the last ever Merseyside Derby at Goodison Park. Sam Kerr has been acquitted of any wrongdoing in a court case, and the news that a Serie A club has rehired an Italian legend 7 weeks after sacking him as manager is also something that has caught our attention. Yes, that is the case. All that and a whole lot more is coming up in today's show. Let's dive in. The final ever Merseyside Derby to be played at Goodison Park took place on Wednesday night. This was originally scheduled to be played a few months ago, but bad weather postponed the game, and it was very much worth the wait. This was an absolutely enthralling encounter between Everton and Liverpool. Like I said, this is the last time these two great sides will ever face each other in a local derby at Goodison Park. They cannot play each other again in the Cups, and they will play each other again later this season in the Premier League, but that will be at Anfield, of course, and Anfield is not going anywhere. Everton will move to the Bramley-Moore Dock new stadium, whatever it's going to be called. I can't imagine they'll keep it as that's going to be called some sponsorship thing, of course, most likely knowing these days. But there was a lot of controversy in this one. Now, I want to talk about the scenes at the final, at the end of the game, and also after the final whistle as well, because it was very much knife-edged. And overall, I would say a draw was probably the fair result. I mean, the two sides definitely had around the same amount of chances. Liverpool having a lot more of the possession, as you would expect, of course, but the scenes at the final whistle, thanks in part due to the drama of James Tarkowski popping up with an unbelievable goal in the last minute of the game. Literally, a VAR check was done, there was a kickoff, and then the game was halted for full time. But after that is when the chaos ensued. Now, on the live TV coverage, we didn't know what initially happened. We just saw Ducote of Everton and Curtis Jones of Liverpool basically fighting each other, different players trying to pull them away, a real brawl in near the Liverpool away end, of course, at the end of this one. Yeah, it was pretty ugly scenes, to be fair. Eventually, Curtis Jones and Doucouré were both sent off, both for second yellow card offences, and Arne Slot as well was given a red card, the Liverpool manager. So what happened? Why did this happen? And what's the kind of fallout from this? Well, first of all, let's just explain what has actually happened, because we did see a replay after the fact, after things calmed down a little bit, after a few minutes or so, and it's pretty obvious what happened. So basically, the ball was played up by Liverpool, the full-time whistle was then blown by the referee. Michael Oliver, I believe, was the referee for this one, and basically Ducouré went towards Liverpool fans and started to celebrate, started to do that I can't hear you thing, basically taunting the crowd, which, you know, I'm all for a bit of banter, but I feel like that was just really asking for trouble, and trouble is exactly what he got, because Curtis Jones, a local ladder, a Liverpool Academy product, very much took offence to that and started to proceed to absolutely batter him as fast as he could. Now, Doucouré is a big guy, so, you know, I mean, fair play to him for actually, you know, standing up for himself and standing up for his fans and doing something about it. A few Everton fans then descended upon it, then a few Liverpool players, sorry, I'm saying players, not fans, a few players from both sides ended up in a big brawl. You know what these guys are like, they're just shouting at each other, they're not actually going to do anything, it's just the way it is. They ended up getting separated. There was a bottle that got thrown as well, and it looked from the video footage as though a bottle was thrown from the Liverpool end. It would just look like an empty plastic bottle, nothing in there, not a glass bottle or anything like that. You don't want to see it, of course, but thankfully it wasn't a more solid object nor something with any kind of harmful substance in there, so there is that. But again, you don't like to see it. And eventually the referee did send off those pairs of players, and, you know, I totally get it. Doucouré absolutely deserved to be punished for instigating that violence there from the crowd, and Jones obviously for lashing out. I understand why he did it. If I was him, I probably would have done the same thing personally, and most people would do as well. But at the end of the day, you can't do that on a football pitch at the end of the day. So Arne Slot, now we don't know what happened with him. We don't know what he actually said to the referee, but he clearly said something while he was shaking hands with the official after the end of the game, and Mark took offence to that and gave him a straight red card. So we don't know what he said. Slot was very much being like, what, you're sending me off? What's going on? How can you do that? For that, really? But we don't know what he said. He could have easily said, oh yeah, best referee ever, mate, you're terrible, or something like that. We don't know. It could have been something not as polite as that. I doubt it was, to be honest, but we don't know what was said there. So yeah, 3 people sent off in the melee at the end of the game. 2 of them players, 1 of them managers. I mean, like I said, it was always going to be dramatic, this, wasn't it? Liverpool seeming as though they were going to go for yet another win in this one, and incredibly as well, they are even. They are absolutely even. They have both won the same amount of matches, against each other at Goodison Park, they sign off as equals effectively. And I think there's a real poetry to that, to be honest. You know, Everton back in the day, way back in the day, I'm talking 50s into the 60s, they were very much the better side in Merseyside, and then Liverpool had their glory days, and Liverpool have raced that ahead ever since. And after all that time, after over 100 years, over a century of history between these two playing each other at this old, famous, rustic English football ground, they end it as equals. And I think there's a real beauty to that, to be honest with you. And of course, again, you don't like to see this kind of vitriol and anger spill over, but you kind of do as well a little bit as well. You like the drama, you like the passion. As long as no one's really getting hurt, I'm all for this, guys, at the end of the day. We love seeing this, and we don't see that much of it in English football, particularly in the Premier League, where it is so sanitised, and you rarely see players that are actually, you know, associated with the club from the academy. You know, you don't get that kind of local lad passion so much anymore in these big games. You very rarely see it in the Manchester Derby, for example. So it was good to see it here for the Merseyside Derby. And yeah, I imagine there's going to be some fallout from this. I'm very interested to hear what Arne Slot said, or allegedly said, to the referee, because it must have been pretty bad just to give him a straight rod like that. But yeah, your thoughts on this game in the comments below, guys. I did not watch this one live. I was watching Celtic against Bayern Munich in the Champions League, and also keeping an eye on my team, Sheffield United, against Middlesbrough. We managed to win 3-1, so I'm very happy about that. But yeah, I didn't manage to catch this one on live, unfortunately. A lot of big games happening at the same time, and I've only got so many screens to watch them on, and only 2 eyes to view them to. So yeah, let us know your thoughts on this one in the comments below. So it's fair to say that Arne Slot was not best pleased after Liverpool's draw against Everton in the Merseyside Derby on Wednesday night. Slot was one of 3 people that was sent off by referee Michael Oliver after the final whistle had been blown. Of course, Doucouré for Everton and also Curtis Jones for Liverpool were also sent off in the mass brawl that followed the game. Very much Goodison Park living up to its reputation as somewhere that's a difficult atmosphere to go to, where the fans are always on your back, and it absolutely got to some of the players by the end of the game. Now, from what we could see, said something to Michael Oliver while he was shaking his hand after the game, and then was shown a straight red card. What he said, don't know. But let's have a look at this article on thefootballchronicle.com, because there is a chance, despite that sending off, that Slot will be in the dugout for their match on, I think it's Sunday, against Wolverhampton Wanderers, and I'll explain why during this video. So full article on thefootballchronicle.com as always, guys. Liverpool manager Arne Slot faces an anxious wait to learn the extent of his ban after being sent off in the aftermath of Wednesday's heated Merseyside derby against Everton. The match, which ended in a 2-2 thanks to James Tarkowski's goal in the 8th minute of stoppage time, was marred by ugly scenes following the final whistle. I've already done a video going over what happened there in detail if you haven't seen it on thefootballchronicle.com. Everton's Abdoulaye Doucouré and Liverpool's Curtis Jones were both shown red cards for a second bookable offence after a melee ensued when Doucouré appeared to celebrate in front of the Liverpool supporters. He didn't appear to, he did celebrate in front of Liverpool fans. Jones reacted angrily and confronted the Everton player, leading to the unsavoury incident in a mass brawl. Basically, everybody got in on it. Slot approached the referee Michael Oliver after the altercation, shaking his hand and appearing to say something, which prompted Oliver to immediately produce another red card. Liverpool assistant manager Spike Holt was also sent off during the fracas. Unlike players, there is no automatic suspension for a manager who has been dismissed, and any sanction must come via the Football Association charge. There we go. Too busy talking about F1 with its FIA. That's what tripped me up there. Anyway, the FA, the English FA, has until Monday to communicate the charge to Liverpool, who will then have 3 business days to submit a response. The FA is allowed a further 3 days to issue a reply. As a result, Slot is expected to be on the touchline for Liverpool's next 2 games, a home match against Wolverhampton Wanderers on Sunday and a trip to Aston Villa on Wednesday. The severity of the disciplinary action will depend on the context of Slot's words to Oliver and the referee's report. An extended touchline ban can be imposed by the Regulatory Commission if the misconduct is deemed serious enough to warrant further measures. Liverpool captain Virgil van Dijk, speaking to TNT Sports after the game, criticised Oliver's handling of the match, stating, "Obviously, you saw how they celebrated they have every right to. I think Doucouré in the end wanted to provoke our fans, and Curtis didn't think that was the right thing to do. And obviously, you know what happens there when there's a tussle. I think the ref didn't have the game under control, in my opinion. Both teams have to deal with it. It is what it is. We just need to move on." While Slot was unable to give his reaction due to being barred from media duties following a red card, Jones will automatically be banned for the Wolves game, and Doucouré will be suspended for Everton's trip to Crystal Palace on Saturday. Both clubs also face a potential FA charge for failing to control their players. The incident has added further drama to what is already a highly charged Merseyside derby, the last to be played at Goodison Park before Everton's move to a new stadium at the Bramley-Moore Dock. As the dust settles, both Slot and Liverpool will be eagerly waiting the FA's decision on any potential disciplinary action. So whether it's right or wrong that Slot was sent off, it's completely down to what he said. We don't know what he said. He could have said anything there. People have been drawing, comparisons between Pep Guardiola, him very sarcastically shaking the hands of the referees during a game once, presumably where he didn't get a good result, and he didn't get sent off for it, and saying that, it's biased, that, of course, Slot's going to get sent off because he's the Liverpool manager, they're all against Liverpool, all that stuff. You always get it. Every fan base has got him at the end of the day, but we don't know what was said. Maybe that will come out in the report when the charge is issued, but we'll see. It all depends on what he said. I am not a lip reader. I'm not going to presume to know what Slot said, but I imagine it probably wasn't very nice. Whether it was a bookable or red card offence is another matter, and we'll find out in due course. But yeah, for now, Slot is expected to be, because while they appeal it, even if the thing does come before then, if they appeal it, then the actual decision is not going to happen. The punishment's not going to happen yet. So there we go, guys. That's why we're expecting Slot on the sidelines for Wolves and probably Aston Villa as well. Oh my word, I've seen quite possibly the most Serie A of Serie A stories here, the Italian top flight. When it comes to managerial turnover in Italy, it is very, very quick. I mean, it's quite fast in the Premier League here in England, but Italy has it on another level. And the merry-go-round of managers is something that has happened before in Serie A, and it's happened again. The legend that is Alessandro Nesta, arguably one of the greatest centre-backs of all time in his playing days. He's not quite had the same success as a manager so far, but he has been appointed as the new manager of Monza over in Serie A, despite being sacked by Monza 7 weeks ago. Oh my God, this is peak Calcio. This is so Italian football, it's unbelievable. I mean, we see some laughable stories again here in England, but I think this could only ever happen in the Italian top flight. I'll just read out a very quick article here on BBC Sports. Shout out to these guys for covering this. Monza have reappointed Alessandro Nesta as their manager 7 weeks after sacking the former Italy defender. The Italian club replaced the legendary centre-back with Salvatore Bocchetti in December, but dismissed the ex-Hellas Verona coach after a 5-1 defeat by Lazio on Sunday, left them 8 points from safety at the bottom of Serie A. Bocchetti, 38, won 1 and lost 6 of his 7 league games in charge. Nesta was originally appointed Monza boss in July as the former AC Milan defender took his first managerial job in Serie A. He won once in 17 league games before being sacked, but now has returned, and his first match back in charge will be against Lecce on the 16th of February. Yeah, relatively quick one there with that. But, I mean, oh my goodness me. So yeah, literally got appointed in the summer, sacked, reappointed again 7 weeks later. Yeah, for what it's worth, from what little knowledge that I have about Italian football, really, I mean, I know the history of it and everything, but I don't really follow Serie A that closely. I do keep an eye on the results every now and again. I go through the Sky Sports Score Center app and just see how people are doing. But yeah, Monza, it very feels, Monza's not the biggest club at the end of the day in Italy. They're not one of the giants, and them being in Serie A for as long as they have, I mean, how long has it been? Like 3 or 4 seasons probably at this point. But it does feel as though people can criticize Silvio Berlusconi a lot, and I am not against the criticism of Berlusconi, but it does feel as though him passing away was kind of the beginning of the end for Monza. He did very much seem as someone, though, was bankrolling the team and another project for him, because of course he was the Milan owner back in the day before he became Prime Minister of Italy, or President, or whatever he was, probably both at some point. Who even knows at this point, but I believe he was Prime Minister, head of state anyway. But yeah, then comes back to football ownership after politics, takes on Monza, gets them to the Serie A for the first time ever, or first time in a very long time anyway. But it does feel as though him passing away has basically signed kind of the death warrant of Monza as a top flight Italian football club. They seem rather doomed at the moment, but if anybody can teach the defenders how to defend, it is of course Nesta. But I feel like, the previous manager had 1 win, he had 1 win before that, so they've got 2 wins all season presumably. At this point in the season, they're a bit screwed, really. To be honest, I don't see them surviving on that. But hey, stranger things have happened. But yeah, Nesta back in charge 7 weeks after being sacked. So Harry Kane had another good night playing for FC Bayern Munich. This time in the Champions League, scoring what turned out to be the winning goal on the night for his side. Now, Kane has done pretty well in football. It's fair to say, one of the top goal scorers in the Premier League of all time. The top scorer for, of course, England national team as well. But his sights are set on other sports and other aspirations. And surprisingly, one of them is the NFL, a different kind of football altogether, American football. He's outlined his ambitions to be a part of that league. But let's have a look at what's been said here, guys, because, yeah, it'd be quite a seismic thing if he does this. But I've got a feeling it's not quite that he's not going over to play. I don't think that's ever going to happen personally. But I could definitely see him getting involved on a financial side because he's earning a decent amount of money over at Bayern Munich, and he's got a good few years ahead of him yet at the top of the game. But yeah, full article on thefootballchronicle.com. England captain Harry Kane has once again expressed his interest in potentially pursuing a career in the NFL, following his goal-scoring performance in Bayern Munich's 2-1 victory over Celtic in the first leg of their Champions League playoff on Wednesday night. In a post-match interview with CBS, Kane, a well-known fan of the New England Patriots, was asked about his love for the NFL. The 31-year-old striker responded by saying, "I've been asked about it before and my focus is on here, the Champions League, Bayern Munich, but it's something I'd like to explore in the future, but I still feel like I've got many more years ahead of me." Despite his NFL aspirations, Kane emphasised that his current priority remains on football, of the association variety, and helping Bayern Munich achieve success in the Champions League and finally winning a trophy. For goodness sake, how has this man not won a major trophy? He's got to get this one this year. He's got to get the Bundesliga at least. His goal against Celtic not only proved to be the winner, but also saw him surpass all other English players in the competition's scoring charts. Wow, impressive, with 36 goals to his name. Interestingly, Kane's goal against Celtic also continued his impressive record of scoring against goalkeeper Kasper Schmeichel. Whether playing for his former club Tottenham, England or now Bayern, Kane has found the net 19 times against the Danish shot stopper, more than any other goalkeeper he's faced. Unlucky Kasper. Good goalkeeper is Kasper, but yeah, not against Harry Kane. He always seems to concede against him. Then again, Kane doesn't usually score against most goalkeepers. After the game, Celtic manager Brendan Rodgers acknowledged Kane's quality, stating he's one of the world's best strikers and he shouldn't be left free in the box. During the interview, Kane also shared his thoughts on the recent Super Bowl between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. Despite claiming that he honestly didn't care who won, the England international admitted that deep down he wasn't unhappy to see the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes fall short in their bid for a third straight Super Bowl title, given his admiration for Tom Brady. Kane, who has previously spoken about being inspired by Brady's journey from a 6th round NFL draft to a 7-time Super Bowl champion, said, "All credit to the Eagles stopping the Chiefs doing the three-peat. I'm backing my boy Brady. So it was nice to see, if I'm totally honest." Yeah, I mean, personally for me, I can't see him ever going to the NFL as a player. The level of to which that you would have to get to actually compete in that would be huge. I mean, like I'm sure there's been a rugby player from the UK, I think from Wales, I could be wrong there, but he's gone over to the NFL and he very rarely even plays, and rugby is a more similar sport in my opinion to American football than what association football or soccer, as the Americans call it, is. I think it's a much different kettle of fish really when it comes to that, and being the top, being good at a sport, like, you know, Kane is physically fit, so he'd be good at, you know, most sports really, just on that basis alone. And the mentality of it as well is also something, but the nuances of it all is so different. Like, you could get, I don't know, Harry Suter, who's 6'7" and plays for Sheffield United. Unfortunately, he is injured, but you know, even though he's a big guy and he looks like he could play basketball, I bet you he'd be nowhere near good enough to play basketball professionally in the NBA. I just don't think he'd be able to do it, and it goes for so many other sports too. So I don't see it really happening. But you never know. He could team up with Tom Brady as like an investor. I'm not sure what Brady's doing in the American football side of things. I know he's obviously involved in Birmingham City over here in England. But yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what he does. I imagine he'll get involved financially at some point with NFL or something like that. You know, I could definitely see it happening. But you know, who knows? He maybe even goes to the MLS to end his career. It could happen. It could happen. But yeah, what do you guys think? Do you think Kane will one day become an NFL player? Do you think it'd happen? Has that ever happened? A player going from association football to American football? That's not happened for a long, long time, surely. Give us an example in the comments below if it exists, guys, of course. And yeah, so Sam Kerr, the female footballer for both Chelsea Football Club here in England and the Australian national team over in Australia, has been in the news recently for not necessarily football reasons and not in a good light, really. I wasn't aware of this incident actually occurring, but basically she was accused of racially abusing a police officer here in London, and yeah, she's been found not guilty of this. Now, I'm gonna go through the story first and then give my thoughts on the end, because at the end of the day, a lot of people have been very much enraged by this. I'm seeing a lot of discourse and controversy online about Kerr and how they believe she should have been punished, but she has not been punished for what she was alleged to have done, and that is the language I need to use, because at the end of the day, if I say she did do it, then that would go against the court ruling, of course. I don't want to get sued here on the footballchronicle.com. What I want to do is read out this article first. So let's have a look at what's been said here, guys. Chelsea and Australia striker Sam Kerr has been acquitted of racially aggravated harassment of a police officer in London. The 31-year-old, who is one of the world's top strikers and plays for Chelsea in the Women's Super League, was on trial for allegedly abusing PC Stephen Lovell in southwest London on the 30th of January 2023. The incident occurred after Kerr and her partner, United States midfielder Christy Mewis, were driven to Twickenham police station by a taxi driver who alleged that they had refused to pay cleanup costs after one of them was sick and that one of them was smashed the vehicle's rear window. Kerr, who has Indian ancestry, called Lovell stupid and white during the incident. Kerr accepted saying those words but denied one court count of racially aggravated harassment. Her lawyer argued that Kerr was making a comment about power and privilege and testified that she felt police treated her differently because of the colour of her skin. Following a trial at Kingston Crown Court, a jury found Kerr not guilty. In a statement after the verdict, Kerr said, "Following today's not guilty verdict, I can finally put this challenging period behind me. While I apologise for expressing myself poorly on what was a traumatic evening, I have always maintained that I did not intend to insult or harm anyone, and I am thankful that the jury unanimously agreed. I am fully focused on getting back to the pitch and look forward to an exciting year ahead for me and my family." During the trial, Kerr and Mewis said that they believed they were being held hostage by the taxi driver, with Mewis kicking the cab's rear window in a bid to escape shortly before they arrived at the police station. Kerr testified that she felt terrified for my life during the cab journey and that the police did not take her concerns seriously. The trial has been closely followed by the media in Australia, with Kerr's position as captain of the Matildas, the female equivalent of the men's national team over in Australia, being called into question by critics. James Johnson, head of Australia's Football Association, declined to comment on how Kerr's return to the national team would be handled, stating, "We understand that there will be some disappointment out there from fans, but what we would ask is that we wait it out. What we need to do is give Sam the opportunity to go through the trial. Once that is completed, then we'll have a holistic view of what's happened." Kerr, who is the captain of the all-time leading scorer for Australia with 69 goals since her debut in 2009, hasn't played since sustaining an ACL injury during warm weather training camps in Morocco for Chelsea in January 2024. She is expected to return in the coming weeks in time to play for Australia in a pair of international friendlies against South Korea in April in the lead up to the 2026 AFC Asian Cup. Right, I mean, this is honestly such a complicated thing, but the main complaint that a lot of people have with this is that if it was the police officer that made reference directly to the color of her skin, because like it said, she's got partial Indian ancestry. I did some research before I started this video as well, and I think she's like a half or a quarter Indian, something like that. So let's just say a police officer says, you know, we all know the one we're thinking of, unfortunately, when it comes to this. It is one that is still frighteningly common here in the UK, tragically, but that's just a fact of life, unfortunately. Hopefully it does go changing. It has been improving, of course, but yeah. But anyway, let's just say this officer said something like that, or the taxi driver said something like that. Would they face punishment for that? I would think so. I would think so. Now, Kerr's openly admitted that she was a bit of an idiot with what she said. And she she probably does regret it, to be honest. But getting no punishment for this, I don't know. It does, I don't necessarily, I'm not going to give my viewpoint on it, but I don't necessarily agree with the whole two-tier system and stuff like that. But things like this does definitely stoke the flames of that. Everybody talks about a two-tier system here in the UK now. So, you know, two-tier Keir for our Prime Minister. Of course, Keir Starmer. That's a criticism that a lot of people say. I'm not saying whether I agree with that or not, but that is a view that a lot of people have at the end of the day. And I have to admit that I'm a bit disappointed in a sense that she's not had some sort of punishment for what she said. Because at the end of the day, I mean, as a white person, I don't take any offense to what she said. I honestly, if someone said that to me, I'd be like, you're an idiot. Like, why are you saying that? I wouldn't be that mad about it, really. I'd just be like, what are you on about? You know, people call me a lot worse things than stupid and white in my comment section. You know who you are, guys. You're probably watching this video. Although, of course, a lot of people do support me, and I do agree, you know, I do very much appreciate that. But yeah, I do understand why some people are very much annoyed, because yeah, if a police officer or the taxi driver said that, like, the officer would have been sacked if they said something about her heritage, you know, her colour of skin. So it sounds like a really traumatic thing. I mean, like, one of them was probably, given the fact that one of them vomited, I would imagine one of them was probably quite drunk in the back of a taxi, and tensions were high. And if that taxi driver did actually stop them leaving, I mean, that is a bit much. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things, you know, it's like, I get the taxi driver doesn't want them to leave because then they're not going to pay for the cleanup and stuff like that. But if there's people in the back of your car that are very, very uncomfortable like that and want to get out, I don't know what the protocol is on that. Taxi drivers, let us know. But I would say at that point, you probably let them out. I mean, these are two women's footballers. They're not exactly conspicuous. You know, they're not just an average Joe John on the street. These are professional athletes that are on the TV every other week, especially, you know, when they're playing or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, I feel it sounds like a pretty traumatic thing overall, just from both sides of it, from, you know, the players' side of things and also from the taxi driver's side of things too. So, yeah, I mean, on the whole thing about treating her different because of the colour of skin, no idea on that personally. I've not had too many run-ins with the police. I've got friends from all kinds of backgrounds. I've not really heard anything when it comes to that kind of profiling. Personally, my experience or whatever, all the people I know's experience, I'm just one person though. So, you know, I'm sure people have all kinds of horrible stories when it comes to that. You know, you get some good apples and some bad apples, and that applies to both any kind of profession. The police definitely included in that too. So yeah, I have to admit, I'm surprised. But, you know, Chelsea very much have a history of, unfortunately, with racial aggravated things. Remember John Terry? Remember what happened to him? He got stripped of the England captaincy, I believe, over that incident with Anton Ferdinand, and rightfully so. We'll see what happens with Kerr. Now, you know, the Australians might well strip her of the captaincy for this. It's not exactly a good look, really. I mean, it's not exactly a good person at that point with what's happened, to be a role model to the younger players coming through and stuff like that. But we'll see what happens. Maybe something will happen with Chelsea, probably not. I don't think Chelsea actually did anything when John Terry did his thing, so I imagine nothing will happen on that front. The soccer, the Matildas, whatever you want to call them, you know, they may do something different. But we'll bring you here on the Football Chronicle as always, guys, for you guys to have a listen to. We'll bring you the news when it comes, of course. But yeah, very controversial issue, and it's sure to get people enraged. I'm trying to stay on the fence as much as I can. I'm trying to get different viewpoints across here at the end of the day, because there's some people as well that would also say, well, we're meant to have free speech here, so she should be able to say what she wants to say. But again, that's a whole rabbit hole of an issue that I'm not going to get into that video on this one. This is not the channel for it. This is not the place for it. But at the end of the day, I understand why some people are annoyed at this, definitely. I'd say the biggest pouring of emotion, really, is anger and disappointment that she's been found not guilty or acquitted or whatever. So, thoughts in the comments below on this, guys, as always. I'm sure there'll be plenty of thoughts on this. And, of course, for much more football content, hopefully actually sticking to the game itself, well, yeah, keep it tuned here to thefootballchronicle.com. Like, share, comment, subscribe, as always, guys. See you soon. Have a good one.